The sky was darkened as enormous ships appeared out of nowhere, their sleek metallic surfaces reflecting the light of distant stars. The vastness of their fleet stretched beyond what human eyes could comprehend. The ships were unlike anything seen before, towering in size with glowing engines that pulsed ominously. The air buzzed with tension as they descended slowly, casting their shadow over entire cities and countries. All communication systems went silent across the world. Governments scrambled to react to the unimaginable, but no one had answers to what was unfolding. Humanity stood on the edge of something it had never faced before. Within hours, the world's major powers called an emergency summit. There were no plans for this, no contingencies for alien invaders, but the meeting room buzzed with frantic voices as the leaders of Earth tried to make sense of what was happening. The screens flickered on, and a voice echoed across the globe. It was not a human voice, but one full of authority and cold power. The message was simple and terrifying. This is the Galactic Empire. You are now part of the Empire, and you will submit to our authority. You will cease your military operations and hand over your technology. The Galactic Empire demands your immediate compliance. Failure to do so will result in the annihilation of your species. Earth's leaders exchanged worried glances as the weight of the message settled over them, but there was no immediate panic or chaos, no surrender, just a cold defiance that began to spread across the globe. People rallied, their voices united against an invisible foe, unknown but not invincible. The leaders of Earth had little time to deliberate. No one on the planet knew how to respond to an alien empire of such scale, but the decision was made to defy the Empire and fight back. Even in their unpreparedness, humanity's resolve was unbreakable. Humans may have been a young species in the vast expanse of the universe, but they had something no other species had ever predicted or understood: their resilience, their spirit, their capacity to adapt quickly to the impossible. On the ground, human resistance began to take shape as pockets of soldiers, scientists, and civilians formed organized groups to defend their cities against the alien invaders. They began by gathering what little military technology they had left from stockpiles across the world. From scavenged pieces of technology to basic firearms, humans began fighting back from the shadows. They knew they couldn't win in a conventional battle, but the Empire had underestimated one key element of humanity: their ability to improvise and adapt quickly. But as the first skirmishes unfolded across the world, the Empire's commanders were unimpressed. They watched with disdain as humans fought back in primitive ways. They saw this as nothing more than a minor inconvenience. The galaxy had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. They assumed Earth's resistance would crumble within days. Yet as days turned into weeks, humanity did not surrender. The Empire watched as their forces failed to wipe out the resistance. The humans' unpredictable strategies and stubbornness began to create cracks in the Empire's once impenetrable confidence. The Empire was about to learn that humanity was not a species to be underestimated. The Empire had underestimated the tenacity of humanity, and their miscalculation became apparent after the initial strikes. As the Empire's forces moved across Earth, they expected to sweep through easily, but what they found was resistance wherever they went. Humans seemed to rise from the shadows, launching surprise attacks with makeshift weapons, sabotaging supply lines, and using their environment to their advantage. The Empire's high command watched in frustration as their forces failed to fully conquer one city after another. Each time they thought they had crushed the rebellion, more humans appeared from nowhere to keep fighting back. The Empire's War Council began to grow impatient. They were not used to prolonged conflict. Their forces were unmatched in firepower, yet they could not break the spirit of Earth's defenders. And what started as minor resistance quickly escalated into something much larger. In every country across the globe, underground movements were forming. Small bands of rebels would strike and then vanish back into the crowds, as if they had never been there at all. The Empire could not pinpoint them, and the more they searched, the more they realized just how deeply rooted the resistance had become. As weeks turned into months, the Empire began to shift their approach. They could no longer rely solely on overwhelming force. Instead, they sent in specialized units, called the Imperial Enforcers, trained in psychological warfare and brutal tactics. Their task was simple: destroy the human spirit, break their morale, and instill fear in every corner of the planet. They launched terror campaigns across cities and villages, burning homes and executing civilians in public. The Empire's commanders believed this would crush the will of the people, but they were wrong. Instead of bowing to fear, the humans began to unite their voices, rising in anger against the Empire's atrocities. Every act of cruelty sparked more rebellion. People began to fight not just for survival, but for revenge. They dug in deeper and fought with more determination, even as the Empire's forces pushed them back. At first, the Empire thought this would break humanity's resistance, but it only made it stronger. Meanwhile, human leaders were not idle during this time. They were quick to learn the Empire's weaknesses. They studied the technology left behind by the invaders, reverse engineering weapons and equipment. As fast as they could, they discovered ways to disrupt the Empire's advanced systems, from their communications to their energy sources. Humanity learned quickly and began to strike back harder than ever before, using the Empire's own technology. Against them, rebel groups started to push into territories that had been firmly under Imperial control. They attacked supply depots, communication hubs, and military installations, destabilizing the Empire's hold on the planet one attack at a time. In one dramatic battle, a rebel force managed to disable an Empire flagship in orbit around Earth. The massive ship was struck by a powerful human-made electromagnetic pulse that sent it crashing into the ocean below. The loss of such an important vessel shook the Empire to its core. A symbol of their dominance was now in ruins. The Empire's commanders were no longer certain of their victory. They had believed Earth would be a simple conquest, but now they saw that humanity was a problem they had no solution for. As the conflict dragged on, the Empire began to realize that Earth was unlike any planet they had encountered before. The more they fought, the more baffling Earth's defenses seemed to become. Strange energy surges would interrupt their communications. Their weapons malfunctioned in ways that made no sense. Their soldiers faced inexplicable hurdles that couldn't be explained by simple human resistance. At first, they assumed it was just the humans using primitive technology, but soon they began to notice patterns in the way their equipment was being sabotaged. It was as if someone or something was guiding the resistance. The Empire's most skilled scientists were assigned to investigate Earth's anomalies. They focused on the planet's environment, hoping to discover the source of these unexpected disruptions. What they found stunned them. Earth was a unique planet. Its core seemed to be filled with strange energies unlike anything the Empire had ever studied. Deep within the planet, there was a power that defied all known laws of physics. This energy source was so potent that it seemed to interfere with the Empire's technology. At every turn, it was the reason their weapons had malfunctioned and why their ships had been struck by random bursts of electromagnetic pulses. The Empire realized that they had underestimated the planet's potential. Meanwhile, humanity was beginning to understand their own connection to this mysterious force. Earth's scientists had already been studying the planet's energy patterns for years, but they had never suspected that they were sitting on a hidden well of power. Now, with the help of ancient texts and artifacts uncovered by the Resistance, humans began to tap into this energy source. For the first time, they discovered that it was not just a source of power, but a force that could enhance their own biology. Humans began to experience strange abilities. Their physical strength grew, their minds became sharper, their reflexes faster. They could sense danger before it arrived, and some even reported strange visions of possible futures. These abilities spread quickly among the human population as more and more people began to access the latent power within the planet. It was clear that this energy was not only enhancing human physicality, but also unlocking untapped potential within their minds. The Empire's scientists were at a loss. They had never seen anything like it before, and they could not understand how a species so primitive could suddenly possess powers that rivaled their own technology. This discovery changed the course of the war. As more humans harnessed the power of Earth, they began to take the fight directly to the Empire. The rebels, who had once relied on simple tactics and makeshift weapons, now wielded extraordinary abilities. Some were able to outmatch entire squads of Imperial soldiers. Single-handedly others could shut down energy shields or disable weapon systems. With a mere thought, humanity's resistance had now become something far more formidable than anyone could have predicted. The Empire's high command was now fully aware of the threat they were facing, but their response was slow. They underestimated the speed at which the humans were adapting to their new abilities, and by the time the Empire recognized the true power of Earth's energy, it was too late. They had unleashed something far more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. As humans tapped deeper into the mysterious energy of Earth, their abilities grew more extraordinary with every passing day. The resistance that once relied on guerrilla tactics now had the power to stand toe-to-toe with the Empire's best soldiers. Some humans could move with incredible speed, others could manipulate the environment around them using the energy of the planet to control elements, or even bend the laws of physics itself. The Empire watched in disbelief as their advanced technology was rendered useless against these new and unexpected abilities. Earth was no longer the helpless planet they had once thought it to be. The tide of war shifted dramatically as human forces became stronger and more coordinated. They began to push back Imperial forces at every turn, reclaiming territory lost in the early days of the invasion. What had once been small skirmishes grew into full-scale battles across continents. The Empire's fleet that had once dominated the skies was now vulnerable to human ambushes and surprise attacks. The rebels didn't just fight back with strength, they used intelligence and ingenuity to strike where it hurt most. Key Imperial installations began to fall one by one, and the Empire found themselves scrambling to hold on to what little they had left. With each victory, the humans grew bolder. They launched coordinated offensives against Empire strongholds, while also sabotaging their supply lines in ways the Empire could not predict. For the first time since the invasion had begun, the Empire's military leaders started to doubt their earlier assumptions. They had thought they were dealing with an inferior species, but now it was clear that humanity was not just a problem, they were a force to be reckoned with. Entire fleets of Imperial ships were ambushed and destroyed by small bands of human fighters, using tactics the Empire had no way to anticipate. The Empire's high command now faced an impossible situation. They had never encountered anything like this before. The humans' unexpected rise in power was a game-changer, and despite their superior technology, they were being pushed back on all fronts. Their commanders began to question their initial strategy. They had assumed that Earth would fall quickly, that humanity would break beneath the pressure of an all-powerful empire. But instead they were faced with a growing resistance that was becoming more powerful and more organized by the day. In a desperate bid to regain control, the Empire sent in their most elite soldiers, the Imperial Legion. These warriors were genetically enhanced to be the ultimate fighters, trained in brutal combat and equipped with the most advanced technology the Empire could provide. The Legion's mission was clear: crush the rebellion once and for all. The Empire believed that with the Legion's might they could wipe out the resistance and reclaim Earth as their own. But even as the Imperial Legion descended onto the battlefield, they were met with the full force of humanity's new powered. Humans fought back with a fury that the Empire had never experienced. Entire squads of the Legion were wiped out in minutes by humans who had now mastered their abilities. The Empire's once feared soldiers fell before the tide of humanity's will to survive. The resistance had become an unstoppable force, and the Empire could no longer ignore the fact that they had underestimated the humans. As the resistance grew stronger, the Empire knew it had to act quickly to maintain control. They could no longer afford to take a passive approach. The Imperial High Command deployed its most elite forces. The Imperial Legion had been sent to crush the resistance, but now they knew it was time for a more drastic measure. They needed to demonstrate their absolute dominance and instill fear across the planet once and for all. The Empire decided to deploy their most powerful weapon, a massive orbital bombardment weapon capable of turning entire cities into ash with a single strike. It was a weapon of mass destruction, one they had only used in extreme situations. They calculated that by using it on Earth's most populated cities, they would break the will of humanity and force them to surrender. They believed that the threat of annihilation would be enough to end the rebellion once and for all. But the humans had already proven time and time again that they would not break so easily. The news of the Empire's plans spread quickly among the resistance, and across the globe the people of Earth rallied together once again, determined to prove they would not be intimidated. They knew the weapon could wipe out entire cities, but they also knew that if they didn't act now, their chances of survival would dwindle with each passing day. The resistance leaders quickly organized a daring mission to infiltrate the Empire's orbital weapon base. A small but elite team of soldiers and scientists was assembled. Their goal was clear: sabotage the weapon before it could be used and destroy the Empire's ability to carry out their plan. But time was running out. The Empire had already started preparations to launch the weapon, and the team had only hours to stop it. The journey was dangerous and fraught with obstacles. The team had to infiltrate one of the Empire's most secure space stations and avoid detection by Imperial patrols. The station itself was a fortress hovering high above the planet. The Empire's forces were on high alert after months of resistance attacks, and the elite team had to navigate the complex without triggering any alarms. But their resolve was strong, and they pushed forward knowing the fate of humanity rested in their hands. As the team worked to sabotage the weapon, the Empire launched a series of retaliatory strikes across Earth to distract the resistance and slow their progress. They launched wave after wave of ground assaults in an attempt to break the resolve of the humans, but the resistance fought back harder than ever. Human forces, who had once only been able to launch small guerrilla tactics, now coordinated large-scale offensives in an effort to buy time for the team on the orbital station. Inside the space station, the team faced unimaginable challenges. The weapon itself was protected by layers of advanced security, and they had to navigate through high-tech barriers and complex systems to get close to the heart of the weapon. After hours of tense work, they finally managed to breach the control room and disable the firing systems at the last moment, but not before triggering an alarm. The team fought their way out as Imperial forces converged on their position. But the weapon was no longer operational. Humanity had won a crucial victory. With the orbital weapon disabled, the Empire's plans were thrown into disarray, but they were not yet defeated. The Empire had underestimated the tenacity of the human spirit, and now they were desperate to regain control. Their forces began to retreat into their strongholds, regrouping and consolidating their power across Earth. But the damage had been done. The humans had proved they were more than just survivors. They were fighters, and they had shown the Empire that Earth was not a world to be easily conquered. In the aftermath of the attack on the orbital weapon base, the resistance continued to grow stronger. Humanity had taken a significant step toward reclaiming their planet. But the battle was far from over. The Empire's military commanders realized they could no longer rely on brute force to win this war. Instead, they began to focus their efforts on consolidating their remaining resources and fortifying their positions across the globe. The Empire had lost precious time and resources fighting a battle they had thought would be easy, and now they found themselves facing an enemy far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. With the Empire's forces scattered and on the defensive, the resistance took the opportunity to strike back even harder. Human leaders from around the world united and launched a series of coordinated attacks against key Imperial strongholds. The humans used their knowledge of the terrain and the Empire's vulnerabilities to their advantage. They infiltrated military bases, sabotaged supply lines, and even launched attacks on the Empire's remaining orbital installations. The Empire's remaining forces were stretched thin, and morale began to plummet as they struggled to keep up with the relentless assaults. Meanwhile, the humans continued to unlock the full potential of Earth's unique energy source. Their abilities grew even stronger as they tapped into the planet's power. With greater precision and control, they were no longer just fighting back with desperation, they were fighting with purpose. And with a newfound sense of unity, the resistance had become an unstoppable force, and the Empire was beginning to realize that their control over Earth was slipping away with every passing day. But even as the humans pushed forward, the Empire was not finished. Yet they had one final weapon left: a fleet of ships, hidden in the farthest reaches of spaceships, capable of launching a devastating attack on Earth from orbit. The Empire had planned to use these ships as a last resort, in case their ground forces were overwhelmed. Now the time had come for them to make their final move. As the fleet made its way toward Earth, the Resistance knew they had to act quickly. The humans had learned how to fight and adapt at an unprecedented rate, and now they had to use everything they had to stop the Empire once and for all. The time for negotiation and diplomacy had passed, and it was clear that the fate of Earth rested on the shoulders of those who had stood up against the Empire. When no one else dared to, the Empire was about to make its last stand, but the humans were ready for them. They would not let Earth fall to invaders who thought they could subjugate a planet that had been home to the most resilient species in the galaxy. As the Empire's final fleet approached Earth, the Resistance knew time was running out. They had faced every challenge the Empire had thrown at them, and now they were preparing for the most dangerous battle yet. With their enhanced abilities and the power of Earth's energy fueling them, the humans gathered in every corner of the world, ready to make their last stand. They understood that this battle would determine the fate of their planet and the future of humanity itself. They had no choice but to fight with everything they had. Human leaders from across the globe met in secret to form a unified strategy. They knew the Empire's fleet was powerful, but it was not invincible. The key to victory would lie in using the very thing that had empowered them, the planet's energy source. The humans had learned to manipulate the energy in ways that defied understanding, and now they would use it to fight back against the Empire's greatest weapon, the fleet that was on its way to deliver the final blow to Earth. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to develop a way to disrupt the Empire's fleet. They created new weapons and devices that would allow them to tap into the planet's energy on a scale never seen before. The Resistance's most skilled fighters and strategists worked together to devise a plan that would give them a chance at victory despite being vastly outnumbered and outgunned. They knew they had one advantage: the Empire had failed to account for the sheer unpredictability and creativity of the human mind. When the Imperial fleet arrived in orbit above Earth, the humans launched their counterattack. The Resistance had mobilized in a way that the Empire could never have predicted. Hundreds of thousands of fighters in spaceships and fighter crafts launched into the sky with unprecedented precision. They were not just attacking the fleet with traditional weaponry. They were using the energy of Earth itself to disrupt the Imperial ship's communication systems, weapons, and shields. The humans had learned to tap into the energy in such a way that it caused catastrophic failures in the Empire's technology. The fleet was being torn apart from within, and the Empire had no way to respond. As the battle raged in the skies above Earth, the humans pressed their advantage on the ground. They launched massive offensives against Imperial strongholds all over the planet. The Empire's forces were spread thin and unable to keep up with the relentless attacks. The humans were now masters of their own fate, and they were proving it with every victory. On the ground and in space, humans fought with unmatched determination. They fought not just for survival, but for the right to live free and to protect their home against invaders who had underestimated them. From the very beginning, the Imperial fleet was crumbling under the pressure, and the Empire's forces began to retreat in disarray. For the first time since the invasion had begun, it seemed as if the humans were on the brink of achieving the impossible. They were on the cusp of victory. But even as the Empire's forces faltered, there was still a final ace up their sleeve. They had one last weapon, a secret weapon that could change the course of the war. The Empire's leaders had been hiding it until now, and they were preparing to use it in a last-ditch effort to break the humans' resolve once and for all. As the humans pushed forward with their relentless assault, the Empire prepared to unleash their final weapon, a massive doomsday device capable of erasing entire continents with a single blast. The weapon had been hidden away on a remote space station deep in the reaches of the galaxy, and now the Empire's leaders had decided that it was time to use it. Humanity had pushed them to the brink, and they would not allow Earth to fall into the hands of those who would defy them. The Resistance knew that the Empire had something devastating in reserve, but they had no idea just how powerful this weapon was. As the battle continued in the skies above Earth, the humans launched coordinated attacks on the Empire's remaining forces across the planet. They had already struck critical blows to the Empire's infrastructure. Their morale was higher than ever, but now they had to confront the true power of the Empire, and they knew that time was running out. Human leaders scrambled to find a way to stop the Empire's weapon. They had already learned to use Earth's energy to disrupt Imperial technology, but they needed to find a way to shut down the Doomsday device. Before it could be activated, scientists and engineers worked in haste to build a countermeasure, but they knew that even if they could disable the weapon, it would come at a great cost. The humans were running out of time. As the Empire's weapon prepared to fire, the humans made their final push against the Empire's last remaining forces. They launched everything they had at the Imperial defenses. Their forces were scattered, but their will was stronger than ever. Every inch of Earth was being defended by those who refused to surrender, and despite the Empire's overwhelming firepower, the humans were not backing down. The final showdown took place in space. As the Empire's Doomsday device was activated, the Resistance knew that they had only one chance to stop it. A small team of elite soldiers made their way to the space station where the device was housed. It was heavily guarded and time was running out, but they knew that failure was not an option. They fought their way through the station as alarms blared and Imperial forces closed in on them. They could feel the weight of the planet's future on their shoulders. Inside the heart of the station, the team reached the control room, where the Doomsday device was preparing to fire. With only moments to spare, they had to disable it, or the planet would be lost. The team fought against overwhelming odds as they worked to deactivate the weapon. Every second felt like an eternity, but they managed to access the device's core just as the countdown reached its final moments. With a powerful surge of Earth's energy, the device was shut down, and the threat was neutralized. As the weapon's power fizzled out, the humans let out a collective breath of relief. But the war was not yet over. The Empire's forces were still reeling from their defeats, and the humans continued to press their advantage. They fought with everything they had left, and in the end the Empire was forced to retreat from Earth, leaving behind only shattered remnants of their once mighty empire. Earth had won the war, but at a great cost. The planet was scared from the years of conflict, but humanity had proven that no empire, no matter how powerful, could ever truly break their spirit. They had fought for their freedom, and they had won a victory that would echo through the stars for generations to come.